is overlap save sectioned convolution. Same procedure with few steps, that is especially in that final step of previously we added the overlapped samples. There alone we have to follow a different procedure here. And one more difference between this overlap add and save is, there in overlap add we performed linear convolution, whereas here you will be performing circular convolution. Okay, so these are the steps you have to follow for overlap save sectioned convolution. Okay, and how you have to cut the signal, or how you have to split the signal into equal length segment is with some overlap. This is also another difference. Note down the steps. It splits the signal into equal length segments with some overlap. And here we have to perform circle convolution between each section of x of n with h of n. How will you get the final output is the first n2 minus 1 values of each output. Okay, it should be discarded, and the rest of the samples alone should be considered for writing the final output. Again, while doing problems, you will understand this. In each output of circular convolution, you have to discard the first n2 minus 1 values, and you have to consider only the rest of that is the last values in each section to produce the output y of n. Shall we look at the table? So this is how you have to perform overlap save section convolution. Again, if you look at this, you have x of n, some 8 number of samples are there. H of n, x of n has 8 number of samples. H of n has 2 samples. Now since h of n is having 2 samples, you are splitting this into 2 sample sequences. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7, 8. You have got 4 shorter length input sequence. Now as per the procedure, you have to write it such that there is some overlap. You have to section it such that there is some overlap. That to how many samples should overlap with each other? N2 minus 1 number of samples should overlap with each other. Since it is given in the procedure, we are taking this 3 and writing it for x1 of n. We have to form our section x1 in such a way that one sample is getting overlapped with each other. Okay, so here this 3 I am writing it here. Likewise, this 5, it should come to x2 of n also. 7, you have to write it for x3 of n. Finally, I can add 0. Why I am adding 0 is, can you say the reason why I am adding 0 for the last shorter length sequence? What is the need for adding 0?
In circular convolution, both should have same.
Very good. So now, since this is overlap save method, and the procedure is you have to section it in such a way that there is some overlap between the samples. You are making this overlap in the input sequence itself. And now after making overlap, my x1 of n has 3 samples. After this overlapping is over, after the sectioning is over, I have to perform circular convolution between x1 and h, x2 and h, x3 and h, and x4 and h. Now as circular convolution requires the length of both the sequences to be same, what I am doing is adding 1 0 to this, because x1 has 3 samples, h I have to make it to be 3 by padding 1 0. Likewise, other samples also, because after doing this 0 padding process, then you have to perform circular convolution between x1h, x2h, x3h and x4h. Circular convolution matrix method you have to follow. And once you follow matrix method to find a circular convolution, now since the input has 3 samples, every output is going to have 3 samples. So I'm writing all the 3 samples here. And as in the statement, n2 minus 1 number of samples will overlap with each other. Output samples are also getting overlapped. n2 minus 1. Since n2 is 2, one sample is getting overlapped here. Now, as per the procedure, what you have to do, you have to discard the first n2 minus 1 sample in each sectioned output. அப்படின்னா என்ன meaning? n2 minus 1 is 1 here. So for each section, you discard the first sample. This will be discarded. Write the rest of the thing. Again here, this is the second sectioned output. So discard the first sample, write the other as such. Discard the first sample in the third sectioned output also. Discard the this particular first sample in the fourth sectioned output also. You have to discard how many samples in each section? n2 minus 1 number of samples. That is the general procedure. Now, since n2 is 2 here, we are discarding one sample or the first sample in each sectioned output and writing the rest of the samples as such.